There is more to me, Queen Eliara of Elfgard, than my elven magic. Just as there's more to Geico than saving you money, Geico also gives you 24/7 access to licensed agents online, on the phone, or on the Geico app. And while I am a mighty elf queen, I am also a mighty big fan of barbecue potato chips. Minions! More smoky mesquite.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, folks. How you doing? It's, another beautiful Saturday. I'll take it. I need the vitamin D. And it's not a play on words just because my name is Danny, and you're listening to the Danny Tisdale Show, and it's on Harlem World Radio. I hope you're doing fantastic on this wonderful, fabulous, incredible Saturday. And, of course, we've got another great guest today. I'm going to give you a hint. Mama, I want to sing. Okay, maybe you don't want to sing like I just did, but that's my little teaser for today. And as I usually do, let's give you a little insight on the plane going over. You're listening, of course, to Harlem World Magazine, radio, and you can check us out at harlemworldmag.com, also on Twitter at twitter.com/HWMag, on Facebook at HWMag, and, of course, our fastest-growing Harlem history site. And you'll probably be able to find this interview and this conversation regarding Vi Higginson on the site also. But let's talk a little bit about what's trending. We have a great post regarding Joffrey Canada from the Harlem Children's Zone, who's honored by some folks in the neighborhood. We also have Comcast Care Day, and that's in Harlem, and that's coming up. And, much props as we talk about history again. Harlem Armory has won the New York Landmarks Conservancy highest honor, and we want to give them, of course, their props. And without further delay, we are going to speak to Mr. Anthony Eaton, and he joins us to talk about Vi, Mama, I Want to Sing Higginson, who we posted, I think the interview was the first week of April. Anthony is a seasoned HR professional with more than 20 years of experience, believing that every person has the opportunity and potential to lead his focus or her focus on helping others to be the best leaders that they can be, no matter what they are or position they hold. His website is www.leadership/ or should I say dash and more, which features interviews and articles and tips to help people be successful leaders like you. Well, today, thank you again, Anthony, for being here, and let me introduce to you live Anthony Eaton. Thank you, Anthony, for being here.
Thanks, Danny. I really appreciate the opportunity to join the show and talk about Vi and the work I do as well.
Well, certainly so. And just for our listeners, very quickly, if you're looking on the site for the interview, it's a conversation with Harlem's Vi Higginson, and we're going to put it in the post when we post this conversation with Anthony in minutes. Again, thank you for being here, Anthony, and really looking forward to this conversation about Vi. And why did, Anthony, you decide to do an interview with Vi Higginson?
I saw Vi quite a while ago when 60 Minutes did a piece on her, and then more recently they did an updated piece, and I was really moved by the work that she's doing, giving something back to the community where she came from. I also think that her desire to keep the history of the community alive is so important because it can so easily be lost.
Well, we talked a little earlier, and, I'm always interested in, about the person, whether it's, the person I'm speaking to or like Vi Higginson, the person that you interviewed. What drives her? I imagine, with her experience as, Ebony Magazine being one of the first advertising executives with them, and her early work in Harlem with the Apollo Theater and her family, she's been working hard for decades. What pushes her forward? Is it her faith? Is it the music or just the work? Did you get an idea of, kind of what her passion is that pushes her forward to continue to work and do the great work she's doing?
I think you just hit it on the head, Dan, is that, I think she found her passion, and when you find that thing or that gift, it doesn't seem like work. She really cares about the arts. She cares about young people, the history, and the impact that it's had on her own life. And clearly she has been a leader not only in her own community, but as a woman of color. I mean, she broke a lot of barriers in the work that she has done. But I think today it's really her passion for the arts and history and passing that down to the younger generations.
Yeah, because I understand that she has a daughter, and I was about to say waiting in the wings, but I understand her daughter is right there, working with her, and quote unquote might not be the right thing to say, ready to step in if she hasn't stepped in already. Are there some things, Anthony, that you learned about Vi that you didn't know before, or what you got is what you kind of expected?
I really didn't know what to expect. What I think I came away with the most is that she is very humble. She could have very easily dismissed my request for an interview. She could probably go out and get an interview with any number of well-known publications to write about her. And after all, she's had 2 segments on 60 Minutes. But to grant me an interview because I wanted to talk about the work that she does, it says to me that she's humble. She recognizes that, everybody needs kind of some help to get to where they want to go, whether that's me helping other people spread messages or the work that she does. And so I appreciated that.
Anthony, did the two of you sit down for an interview face-to-face, or was it an e-interview, or was it done over the phone, or a combination of the above?
We never have actually spoken on the phone. This is kind of the interesting thing about what I do is when I see somebody who has a story or has done something that I think is interesting, it shows some leadership trait, I generally just send them an email and say, I'd like to interview you for my website if you're interested. And she responded directly to me. And then I worked through her assistant, sent her a set of questions, and she really took some quality time to give me the answers. She clearly put some thought into it. But interestingly enough, the two of us have never talked. We have never met in person.
The wonderful use of technology, I love it.
It is true because, technology has given the opportunity for me, at least, to do these kinds of interviews that I would never have had the opportunity probably, 10, 15 years ago to do.
Yeah, it's truly amazing, much like our conversation here today with this podcast. As I intimated in our email conversation, there'll probably be some questions like the one I'm about to ask you that's not on the hit list. But are there, I know that, you're a leadership guru and you've have spoken and probably continue to speak to leaders in the field and outside of the field and all vestiges in between. What do you think has been, that leadership trait that Vi Higginson has that other leaders have? Is there a secret sauce, Anthony, or
I'm not sure if there's a secret sauce, but I think the trait that I recognize in leaders that I am drawn to are people who exhibit traits of leadership is that they are humble in a sense, like Vi. They are also passionate about the work that they do, and they treat people as people, and they understand that everybody has value. Everybody brings something unique to the table, per se. And so it doesn't matter, if it's a president of a corporation sitting, in the ivory tower, per se, or, it's that person out in the trenches digging ditches. I think that everybody has that opportunity to be a leader, and good leaders recognize that.
Well, Anthony, I sometimes read in the newspaper, no such thing that lasts anymore, I don't think, online, on a website or wherever it may be, that this leader of this organization has fired all his staff. She is downsizing and want to squeeze out the maximum of, all he or she can out of the business. Woke up one morning. Matter of fact, he or she does not know his staff. All they do is they come in and they're, bulls in a china shop. Is that a stereotype? Because it doesn't sound like that's Vi Higginson. Are there two different things?
Well, I do think it's two different things. I don't think it's a stereotype, because clearly that type of person exists. I don't think that is someone that I would say is a leader in the sense that I think of leaders. Clearly, they may be a leader by virtue of the title that they hold as president or the power that they wield. But that, to me, is somewhat of kind of I hate to use the term, but fake leadership. People probably don't look to that individual and admire or want to emulate them. I think of somebody who is a leader who has traits that, the average person says, I admire what they're doing. I think it's noble, whether it be in business or community service. I do think in business, there's obviously a balance. There is always a bottom line. But when a business falls on hard times, it's how the leader handles that. It's how the leader deals with, that impact that it has upon those people. And if the leader really is in touch with their people and being transparent and honest, it's going to make it easier on everybody. Nobody wants to work and feel like they're just a cog in the wheel.
Right.
Maybe somebody does, but I don't.
Yeah, I don't know any of those folks myself, so I definitely hear you on that. And Anthony, we're going to take a quick station ID and let our listeners know they're listening to the Danny Tisdale Show on Harlem World Radio, and we're speaking to Anthony Eaton, who I'm calling and who is leadership guru, who did a fantastic interview with Vi Higginson, and we have it posted. Matter of fact, we just reposted the interview, and you can check it out at the top of the page on the website harlemworldmag.com. And I wanted to use the second half of our conversation to talk a little bit about leadership with Anthony and see what he has to say. Anthony, what advice, would you give someone who's listening in? A lot of our listeners are business owners, or they work in a executive administrative position in their business or in a business. What advice would you give them to kind of, Monday's around the corner, and they're going to need a confidence boost to start that week off as, summer rounds the corner. What advice would you give them?
I think there's a couple things that I would say and do say to every leader that I come in contact with is, one is, don't think that you need to have all the answers. No leader does. Recognizing that and acknowledging that you don't have all the answers makes, I think, those people that you are leading respect you all the more for that honesty and that truth. Also, the golden rule, obviously, treat people the way you want to be treated. Right. I think everybody has seen or maybe even personally experienced that person who's in a leadership role who is, they're just awful. It makes you not want to get up and go to work in the morning. Mm-hmm. Leadership is really about setting the example, bringing the best out in others, and really lifting other people up. That's really what leadership is about, whether that, again, be in the boardroom or out in community service. If we look at some of our greatest leaders who were not necessarily corporate leaders, what they did was they empowered people. They inspired people to be their best and do their best, and that's what makes a great leader.
Well, that sounds it sounds great, Anthony, but it sounds like it's challenging because I know that with Vi Higginson, she had a hiccup in I think it was the Mama Foundation that she created after creating the play Mama, I Want to Sing. And she, quote unquote, seems like she kind of dusted herself off and, took a deep breath and had a second win and got back on track. Is that the kind of thing you're talking about when you talk about leadership? And you also mentioned kind of handing the baton to someone else to support what you're doing. I know I'm doing a terrible paraphrase. But is that some of what you're talking about?
It is. I think that, again, any leader can find themselves in a position where they go, maybe I've made a mistake or things have not gone the way they had wanted. Clearly being able, part of leadership is growth, so learning from those experiences. I'm sure Vi has had a number of those in her career in a number of different ways, as we all have. But getting yourself back on track and dusting yourself off, but also then surrounding yourself with people who truly care about you and what it is that you're doing. And part of that, handing the baton. So, Vi's daughter clearly has a passion. She grew up in that kind of atmosphere, so it seems natural. But she could have probably just as easily gone and found her own different passion, could have been something different, and I'm sure Vi would have supported her in that.
But it sounds in some way, I'll play devil's advocate here, kind of counterintuitive, because it seems very easy, Anthony, to, I'm having trouble with the business, I'm going to close the business or sell it. I'm having trouble with employees. You know what? I'm going to close the business or I'm going to sell it because my employees are driving me crazy. The business opens at 9 o'clock. I've been having to go to the business a couple hours earlier in the morning. I stay up late at night. My wife, my girlfriend, my boyfriend is driving me crazy. How come I'm not doing this? How come I'm not doing that? Seems like a lot of work, Anthony, you're talking about. Seems like it's easier just to close the thing and sell it.
Nobody says the leadership was easy, so I would never profess to say that being a leader of anything is easy. You think of, coaching a team, which is really what being a leader of people is being the coach, is, sometimes you have to be very stoic. Again, sometimes you realize this isn't the right path. Part of being a good leader is also being able to say, I'm going to change direction because I don't feel like we're going in the right direction.
But Anthony, that means
okay.
that you've made the wrong decision, though.
We make wrong decisions all the time, right? I mean, leaders are not perfect, and sometimes it is learning by trial and error, and sometimes the circumstances that are beyond your control, especially when you think of business. Businesses can be impacted by so many different things. It can be the economy. It could be something tragic like 9/11. Those are things that you don't have any control over. What you do have control over as a leader is how you react to all of those circumstances. And so even when it's not easy, is to really be able to step up and say, I value all of you. I'm going to try to do the right thing by you. We're going to do this together. I think, again, in business, what employees want is that transparency from their leaders. Same with community service, whether it be volunteerism, it's feeling like you are valued.
Yeah, and it reminds me, too, of that old saying that my mother from the South used to say, is to kind of pick yourself up and dust yourself off and, take that next step forward and you'll be okay, kind of sensibility. But it's hard to do if if there's not a tradition of that, if, you haven't seen it before, you haven't done it before, but you've read about it and you've heard leadership gurus like Anthony Eaton talk about it. It's might be pretty hard for someone to actually do, though.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't consider myself to be a guru. Thank you for bestowing this title upon me. But, we're all human. I myself have gone through those experiences, recently left an industry working in oil. As everybody knows, the oil industry in the country is suffering.
It's tough.
Lost my job. But just took I think, had the right mindset and realizing that even though one door closes, another door opens. There is another opportunity out there. We don't necessarily know the lessons that we're supposed to be learning. I always try to look for the lesson in every experience, even those that are very painful and hard. There's something to be learned from that. And so I think if you can walk away from any experience with a lesson, you're going to come out on the other side a better person for it.
Well, Anthony, not unless there was something I didn't see in your bio or we haven't talked about. I hear a book coming down the line here. I just want to make sure that I get my copy. That's all I'm saying. I feel it. I hear it there because I really hear some really great ideas and sensibilities that, leadership in some ways seems like a lost art form to me, and so many people that I know and probably don't know, want those skills. Even when I look at elected officials, it's like, how can you do that? It's like, what are you thinking, or aren't you thinking? I'm not going to no examples, but that's what comes to mind when I see some of what goes on out there.
I think the problem is, that we see leaders who begin to think that they are smarter than everybody else in the room. They begin to believe their own press. And those are the ones that are highlighted in the media. What we don't often see are those who are working so diligently behind the scenes. Who the message, their goals are not about them, they're about something else. It's not about getting my name in the paper, it's about the impact I can have. And for me personally, that's why I'm passionate about leadership, and that's why I like to tell other people's stories, is because I think it gives them a format, a place, where they can be recognized. And the same was with Vi. There could be some person out in the middle of Idaho who has never heard of Vi Higginson. And by hearing or reading my interview with her, they're inspired. And so we never really know the impact that we might have on somebody's lives. And that is, I think, the thing that is important. That impact can be one of two things. It can be positive or it can be negative.
Yeah, really, again, just really, really great content, both in the interview with Vi and in the conversation we're having about leadership. We're, of course, down to our last 5 minutes here, and I've got probably about 13 more questions. I think I'm going to just have to bring it down to about 3. And I know you mentioned some things about leadership earlier. Are there any different tips, maybe the top 3 tips that you would give, someone listening on being a great leader, whether they want to be a football coach or run the business or whatever it may be? Are there kind of, your 3 anchor tips that you have, or did you just mention those earlier and those stand?
No, I think to highlight, I think one is always be humble. Remember what and where you came from. Also, remember that you're going to make mistakes. None of us are perfect. And surround yourself with people who care about you and what it is that you do. And I'll add one more to that is to, not make it about yourself. So great leaders, it's not about them, it's about everybody else, or it's about the cause.
I only laugh, Anthony, because I'm going to say that was the last lesson I learned in working at Harlem World magazine. I used to say, it's my magazine and it's for me and my readers. And then I realized, this has nothing to do with me other than the fact that I'm the intermediary between what is published and our readers. And, once I did that, it was a big relief. And I have to tell you, I think our employees bought in more to, what we do. So I think you're right on track with that. And now we're down to our last 3 minutes, but I want to make sure that our listeners can be in contact with you if they want to find out more about what you do, what you write about, your website. Anthony, do you have URL, email, phone number, whatever it may be, where our listeners can stay in touch with you?
The listeners can visit my website, www.leadership-and-more.com. They can also email me at leadershipandmore@gmail.com. I'm always on the lookout for a great story about somebody or something that someone is doing. And if you know that, feel free to reach out. And I will also add, I am about to publish that first book. So if you're interested in knowing more about that, it'll be a compilation of my first interviews that I did, and it should be coming out sometime in June.
Fabulous. And Anthony, I just want to let you know that if you want, we have an open invitation for you to come on the show, talk about the book before it's published, and we'll do a post on it and Amazon whole thing. So I really look forward to it, and that's fantastic. And let's see, we're at minute 17. And Anthony, when you're in Harlem, do you have a favorite place?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot, and I hate to say this.
That's right.
I have never been to Harlem. It is on my list. Obviously, now I have more than one reason to go visit the great city of Harlem. One is to see it. Two is to meet Vi in person and maybe hang out with you, and we can go to dinner.
Love it. Love it. And talk about your book.
That's right. Talk about the book.
Thank you, Anthony. I really, really appreciated it and look forward to the book coming out. Look forward to meeting you. And I really, really enjoyed the conversation, and we'll be reaching back to you. Thank you.
Great, Danny. The pleasure's been all mine.
Okay. Have a great Saturday. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
You too. Thanks, Danny.
Well, folks, these are the folks that we interview, men and women like Anthony Eaton, and a great conversation. And we'll look forward to speaking to you next time on the Danny Tisdale Show on Harlem World Radio. Thank you. Bye-bye.
What you doing?
Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. Bye, singing dog. Bye, goal.
I pronounce you.
Bye, wedding ceremony.
Stop. At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really?
Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figured out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.
What you doing?
Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. Bye, singing dog. Bye, goal.
I pronounce you.
Bye, wedding ceremony.
Stop. At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really?
Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figured out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.